This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening. I'm Sabrina Brown. Thank you for joining us. A leading member of a southern community on Grand Bahama is dead tonight, and many whose lives she impacted are struggling to come to grips with the fact that she's gone. Joan Davis-Roll reports.
Very, very shocking. Very, very, very shocking for us.
A shocking discovery Friday morning as the Lewis Yard community learned of the sudden passing of one of their own, 57-year-old Betty Lewis.
I was in the bank and they called to say my sister haven't shown up to work. So I got her daughter and we decided to come down here to check. And we checked, we met her, I touched her and everything, and she had already passed.
It's shocking. Her daughter's response was, I'm waiting for someone to pinch me and tell me that it's not real, because she's an only child and her mother is the only parent that she knows. So for her, it's unreal for her, and she's taken aback by it all. So all we can say is just to be there for her and to encourage her and to pray for her.
Those who know Betty best say she was the life of the party, a people's person, outgoing and always with a word of encouragement. Family members, friends, and her co-workers at the post office, where she worked for several years, say they are all saddened and in disbelief that the voice of Betty Lewis was hushed by death.
And I loved her dearly and truly will miss her, truly. It came to a blow to me this morning, but like Annie Pam said, she's with the Lord, she's with my father and her parents now, so all is well.
Like they said yesterday, most of them, the staff were saying the way she hardly spoke to anybody yesterday. She stayed in her room, in her section. You know, and they were asking, Betty, you okay? And she was like, yeah, just thinking. You know, Betty eating? No, I don't feel like eating anything yet, you know. And that's not Betty Lewis.
We contacted our post person down here, and who's situated in Hunter's area, and we asked him if he would go to find out if he knew what happened. And he had called back and he said that her car was parked in the yard, and everybody immediately got, you know, we were all concerned after that. And we asked him to just go inside to see if he would know what was going on with her. And he got here. He called back minutes later saying that she was stiff and she was not moving.
For decades, unofficially, Betty Lewis was a part of the ZNS family. She was the eyes and ears of ZNS. She was the person who kept us on our toes, making sure that we stayed on top of the latest happenings. Many of them involved breaking news stories, headline news, which not only originated from Grand Bahama, the Bahamas, but the world. Betty Lewis always had an opinion on the issues. I was never afraid to speak her mind.
It was really, really unexpected. I figured Betty may be the last person to go. She's always a very vocal person. She's always around. I mean, everybody know her. And it was strange. You know, it's still hard to live with because she's one of the mainstays in these communities. But throughout Grand Bahama, you know, people know her because she's active and she talks a lot. She's a friendly person.
The shocking passing of Betty Lewis could be felt far and near. She was not only known as the mouth of the South, but indeed Grand Bahama and the Bahamas. And those who know her well say she will surely be missed. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Joan Davis-Roll.
Thank you, Joan. Well, tonight, as the Grand Bahama community mourns the loss of several prominent residents, a local religious leader is giving words of comfort and encouragement. President of the Grand Bahama Christian Council, Reverend Peter Pinder, says, although the loss of a loved one is not easy, God is able to sustain you during that difficult time.
In any and every situation, we've got to have the mindset that God is in charge, God knows what He's doing, and God provides for us to be able to cope with any and every situation. I like to refer to the time just before my mother passed because I had an experience that made such a difference in my life. A few days before she passed, the doctors had already given her up. We were praying for her healing, but a peace came over me that I had never experienced before. And I believe that peace was God saying to me, trust me, it's all right.
Pastor Pinder is encouraging those who may be struggling to cope with the death of a loved one to trust God.
When we are facing difficulties, yes, we hurt, there's pain, there's frustration, and sometimes there's even anger. But if we can learn in the midst of everything to trust God, the way the Bible puts it is that in all things give thanks. And that sounds cruel when tragedy has come. But giving thanks is suggesting that I have confidence in God's ability to sustain me. And my confidence in God's ability to sustain me enables me to accept what has happened and know that tomorrow is going to be a brighter day.
Testimony continued today in the Supreme Court in the Leslie Maycock murder trial. Several witnesses took the stand, including the mother of defendant Cordero Wallace. Shashina Roll was in court and filed this report.
It was day 3 of the Leslie Maycock murder trial. Several witnesses took the stand, including the mother of co-accused Cordero Wallace, a.k.a. Cordero Miller, Loretta Duncombe. She told the court that she was in Eleuthera on a Christian mission when she learned that her son was arrested for a marijuana joint. On the stand, she told the court that upon her return to Freeport, she spoke with an officer at CDU to find out exactly why her son was arrested. She was presented a 2-page written statement by the prosecution, but the mother of the co-accused, while perusing the statement, claimed that only a part of that statement presented in court was from her, adding that all of the signatures on the 2-page statement was not hers. But the prosecutor asked Duncan why she would sign a statement that had additional information by police, and then put it to her that she was lying on the stand, noting that she was only there to protect her son, to which the witness denied. Also testifying was Alexander Nesbitt, who told the court that on the day in question, he, along with several other men and co-accused Dudley Sade, were all hanging through Hawksbill. He was asked to identify Dudley Sade in court, and he did, while telling the court that he knew Dudley all of his life. When asked by the prosecution how would one get to Hawksbill Mini Mart from where they were that day, the witness said you can take a shortcut between houses. He was also asked by defense attorney Osmond Johnson if his client, Cordero Wallace, was seen hanging out that day, and the witness replied no. Pathologist Dr. Anna Tankawan also took the stand. She told the court that according to the autopsy report, Leslie Maycock died from a single gunshot wound to the abdomen. Tankawan explained to the court that the bullet was found lodged in the lower back behind his spine. The manner of death, she said, was classified as a homicide, and the gunshot range was at an indeterminate range. Testifying before the jury next week is Detective Corporal 2509 Stephen Roll. The morning session was suspended until Tuesday. A voir dire or a trial within a trial is expected to take place throughout Friday afternoon and on Monday. Shashina Roll, ZNS Network News.
Concerns are mounting over the first round of constitutional reform proposed by the government. Tonight, a leader in the Christian community is voicing his concerns. The government is proposing to bring about gender equality through the passage of 4 bills. Pastor of Zion Baptist Church in Freeport and president of the Grand Bahama Christian Council, Reverend Peter Pinder, says he is not speaking on behalf of the council, but he does have some concerns of his own. He says he does not oppose women having the same rights as men, but his views on gender equality are from a biblical perspective.
The Bible says that we have the same access to God, the same access to salvation, and so forth. But in the Bible, there's room for discrimination. And the Bible says that the husband is the head. That's discrimination. But it's discrimination from the standpoint for the preservation of family life, for the orderly existence of members of a family, because in a family, like in an organization, there needs to be a head. The country has a head, the family has a head. By virtue of being head of the country, there's some privileges that the Prime Minister would have that an ordinary citizen would not have by virtue of office. We've seen the disintegration of the family, and I believe that as a result of the disintegration of the family, many of the laws that are now being enacted are really catering to that disintegration of the family.
But Reverend Pinder says his main issue, like many others, is with the 4th bill, which seeks to end discrimination based on sex.
The intent may be to apply to citizenship or apply to job classifications and so forth, but it's a very broad approach And so the broad approach, in my opinion, opens the door for other interpretations, and also for the courts to interpret what it means. So while there are those who are trying to allay the fears of some people by saying, for example, it has nothing to do with same-sex marriage. No, it does not in any way refer directly to same-sex marriage, but does it provide the potential for the matter to be raised later on the basis of equality of sex? Of course, definitely.
This well-respected religious leader is calling on the government to take a closer look at the proposed amendments before moving forward.
I believe that in the case of number 4, there can also be something said to keep the door closed on the matter of same-sex marriage.
Stay with us. There's more news after this.